Heartwarming surprise. Single dad revealed his amazing date for Loneliest wheelchair-bound CEO. Jason stood at his small kitchen window, looking out at the vibrant fall leaves swirling through the crisp air. The scent of apples and cinnamon floated from the kitchen, a fragrant reminder that Thanksgiving was right around the corner. He couldn't help but smile as he watched his 8-year-old son, Tommy, bouncing around the living room, imagination soaring like the balloons he often tied to the back of their chairs. Laughter spilled from their one-bedroom apartment as Tommy transformed into a superhero, cape made of his mother's old bedsheet, battling non-existent foes. Each chuckle chipped away at the heavy stress weighing down Jason's shoulders. He worked 2 jobs, another late shift at the diner, and his mornings spent cleaning offices, all while pouring his heart into raising Tommy and his little sister, Emma. Yet the closer Thanksgiving came, the tougher it felt. Across the street, Mark sat in his wheelchair, peering out of his window into a world he felt increasingly disconnected from. Once, he had been a powerful CEO, calling the shots, but life had dealt him a cruel hand. The tragic accident had stripped him of mobility and his dignity. Lack of visitors transformed his vast home into a solitary prison, echoing his loneliness. He watched families gather, their holiday preparations blooming with warmth, while he remained trapped in silence. Despite Tommy's apprehensions, Jason resolved to host a community Thanksgiving dinner at the local center, hoping to bring a spark of joy to those who needed it most, especially Mark. With a mix of hope and determination, he marched over to his neighbor's house. Gripping the invitation tightly in his hand, he knocked on the door. "I know it's been a while," he said, heart racing as Mark appeared. "But we're having dinner this year, and I'd love for you to join us." As he spoke, Jason's kindness seemed to radiate warmth, dispelling the chill that had long enveloped Mark. "Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As the big day approached, Jason's small apartment filled with the sweet smell of baking pies and roasting vegetables, and anticipation bubbled through the community. On the night of the dinner, Jason watched the center transform, tables adorned with turkey and trimmings, laughter echoing off the walls. His nerves danced as he spotted Mark entering, another fusion of emotions weighing on him, the excitement mingling with anxiety over how others would react. But all that worry was washed away when he greeted Mark. They found a quiet corner, where shared vulnerabilities washed over them like a comforting blanket. Mark confessed his fears, emotions welling in his eyes, while Jason shared his worries of being a good dad. Just when it seemed they might forge a connection, a harsh whisper from the crowd sliced through the warmth, igniting tension. People turned, judging eyes flickering in their direction. Would Jason's unyielding spirit be enough to lift Mark from the depths of despair? Or would the judgmental barbs of society push him back into that lonely cocoon? As every heart in the room held its breath, the scene thickened, anticipation pouring into the air, leaving them wondering what would unfold next. The air hung heavy with tension as people shifted in their seats, eyes darting between Mark and Jason. The whispers cascaded through the room, mounting like a summer storm. Jason's heart raced. He had wanted this dinner to be a chance for connection, for all of them to feel included, but now it felt like a spotlight had been cast on them. "Hey, it's okay," Jason said softly to Mark, attempting to reassure his friend while also battling the unease swelling around them. Mark's gaze dropped, shadows flickering across his face. The outburst had reached him. It shattered the moment they had been building. "Is this really happening?" Mark whispered, his voice barely audible. "I thought maybe, just maybe, I could be part of things again." Jason's chest tightened as he absorbed the weight of his friend's words. He couldn't let Mark retreat into his shadows. "Look, come on," Jason pressed, shooting a defiant glance toward the crowd. "We're all here for the same reason: to celebrate, to share something. Let us not let a few whispers ruin that. He took a deep breath, deciding then and there he wouldn't allow the negativity to snuff out the light of friendship he was building with Mark. At that moment, Tommy dashed up, beaming with excitement. Daddy? Can we show Mr. Mark the turkey? You said it's the biggest one you've ever cooked. His innocent enthusiasm cut through the tension like a warm knife through butter. A smile flickered across Mark's face, his eyes momentarily lighting up. Absolutely. Let us go see it, Jason said, relieved. Tommy grabbed Mark's wheelchair, guiding him like a trusty sidekick. The two of them rolled toward the kitchen, with Jason trailing behind, feeling a rush of hope flicker again like a candle in the dark. As they entered the kitchen, the savory scent of roasted turkey enveloped them. A crowd was gathered around the serving table, laughter bursting forth as people tasted the handcrafted dishes. Against this backdrop of warmth, it was hard for Mark to feel so alone. Jason whispered a quick prayer, wishing for community acceptance. But as they approached, Mark found himself hesitating. His heart raced. What if the whispers started again? What if they didn't want him there? Sensing the shift in Mark's demeanor, Jason leaned closer. Just be yourself. That's enough. A moment passed, and then Mark nodded. Together, they wheeled forward, and Jason introduced him to some neighbors. Mark's voice cracked as he thanked them for attending. It was small, but they responded with smiles and warmth, encouraging him. The ice began to break. Seeing Mark engage, even slightly, swelled something inside Jason. Out in the main hall, a woman stood with an apron tied around her waist, eyes twinkling. Hey, Mark! I brought that pecan pie you love, she called out, moving closer. Mark looked surprised, blinking back gratitude as memories of past Thanksgivings washed over him. As conversations flowed and laughter rose, Jason watched in awe. Maybe, just maybe, this gathering would spark something remarkable. But when a sharp laugh pierced through the merriment, the room quieted once again. A voice from the back sneered, "Look who's trying to fit in." The harshness rippled through them like a cold draft, and Jason felt his heart sink. Would it be a day of healing, or were they heading for another fracture? Mark stiffened, his gaze dropping once more, but Jason squeezed his shoulder, determination igniting. He could feel the turning tides within himself and Mark. The dinner was still theirs to own. Would Jason find the strength to turn this moment into something beautiful, or would he falter in the face of adversity? The answer hung in the air, ripe with possibility and fear as the crowd turned their eyes back to them, holding their breath in unison. The silence in the room stretched like a thin wire, taut and ready to snap. Jason could feel the eyes of the crowd burning into him, waiting. He took a deep breath, and in that moment, a surge of determination washed over him. "You know what?" he said, lifting his chin slightly as he faced the voice from the back. "It's not about fitting in," he continued, his voice steady. "It's about being together." He turned back to Mark, whose eyes reflected a mix of anguish and hope. "Mark is brave enough to show up tonight, and that means everything. We should celebrate that." A quiet murmur rippled through the crowd. Jason could see a few nodding, but others remained skeptical, their faces hardened by judgment. Still, something in Jason's words had sparked a tiny flame, the kind that could forge bonds. Mark looked at Jason, stunned. He had expected to be rejected again, not embraced. "You really think so?" he asked, the disbelief raw in his tone. "Absolutely," Jason replied, without hesitation. "You've got this." Encouraged by Jason's words, Mark took a deep breath and faced the crowd. "Thanks for being here," Mark said, his voice stronger now. It's good to be around people. I know it's been a while since I've really been myself." A few sympathetic smiles emerged from the onlookers, nudging aside the icy tension. The woman with the pecan pie approached again, her presence warm and inviting. "We all have our struggles, Mark. But we're all family here," she said, her eyes softening. "Let us share in the feast together." With that, the atmosphere shifted ever so slightly, like dawn breaking through a long night. Laughter returned, children giggled as they chased one another, and the adults began to converse again, albeit cautiously at first. Mark shot a glance at Jason, a question etched on his face. Can this really change? Jason nodded, a swell of hope rising in him. One step at a time. As the kitchen buzzed with renewed life, Mark took a seat at the table where a few chairs had been pulled out for him. Jason remained by his side, sensing the safety of togetherness. The doubts began to fade, replaced by the genuine desire to foster connection. Just as they began to share stories, laughter bubbling over like gravy on mashed potatoes, the sneer from the back piped up again. What a pity party! There was a crackle of unease, but then the crowd shifted. A few people spoke up, defending Mark and his presence. Enough already! Tommy's voice rang out, cutting through the tension once more. Mr. Mark is my friend and he's awesome. That brought a wave of laughter, easing the frayed nerves. Mark's face lit up with surprise and affection, the childish innocence of Tommy igniting the crowd's spirit. In that moment, Jason realized how important it was to have allies in tough times. The embers of acceptance began to grow, and hope flickered brighter than before. Still, in the back of his mind, a question nagged at him: would it last? As they settled into comfortable chatter, Jason caught sight of someone standing at the doorway. A new arrival, a shadowed figure with an uncertain look. They weren't familiar, and anxiety gripped him once more. Would this be an ally, or a threat? His heart beat fast as he wondered how their presence would shift the course of the evening. What would happen next? The figure in the doorway shifted nervously, glancing around the room as if searching for familiarity in a sea of unfamiliar faces. The room's chatter muted slightly, an instinctive wave of apprehension rolling through the crowd. Jason felt his heart rate spike. Who were they? Did they come to stir the pot again? As the stranger took a step inside, Jason caught a glimpse of their face, a woman with soft features, wearing a cozy sweater that seemed to bespeak comfort. Her eyes, though cautious, held a glimmer of determination, and Jason sensed a story behind them. "Excuse me, is this the right place?" she asked, her voice slightly shaky but laced with an underlying strength. Mark looked at Jason, who nodded, encouraging him to go ahead. Mark stood up and walked towards her. "It is. Welcome," he said, his own voice trembling yet welcoming. The room's focus shifted to the newcomer, and an unspoken unity seemed to form. People leaned forward in their seats, intrigue and openness filling the air. "I heard about this gathering," and she hesitated, a light blush creeping onto her cheeks. "I saw the flyer at the coffee shop. I just thought maybe I could join if that's okay." "Absolutely. We'd love to have you," Jason called out, as Mark's eyes widened with pride. She stepped further into the room, and with each step, a sense of warmth enveloped her. "I'm Lily," she said. The name resonated and seemed to pull threads of connection from the crowd. "Lily. It's a pleasure," Jason said, forcing down the tension that threatened to bubble up again. "We're all just sharing stories and some great food. I even brought dessert," she exclaimed, unveiling a container of homemade brownies from her bag. The aroma wafted through the air, sweet and inviting, pulling smiles from every corner of the room. People started to murmur excitedly, eyes lighting up at the idea of a tasty treat. "Brownies?" Tommy shouted, eyes filled with wonder. "Now we're talking." The laughter returned, blending with the excitement of her offer. Lily beamed, and Jason felt the atmosphere shift even more. "Let us set up a little table for them over here by Mark," Jason suggested, a smile growing on his face. The crowd moved as if following some invisible conductor, creating space for Lily and her brownies. As they settled in, Jason couldn't help but watch Mark. There was a lightness about him that hadn't been there earlier, a glimmer of hope that the previous tension had almost snuffed out. "It's nice to know I'm not the only one who needs a little push to join in," Lily said, glancing at Mark. "Seriously," Mark replied, his eyes shining. "You're brave for coming here tonight." Their shared vulnerability made a connection that was palpable. Jason had witnessed not just acceptance happening, but bonds brewing within moments. But just as joy began to radiate between the group, the sneer from earlier still lurking in the shadows couldn't resist another chance to strike. "What's this? A bake sale now? How desperate can you get?" The room fell silent again, but this time it was different. People started to mutter defensive words, echoing the spirit of openness they had created together. As the tension swelled dangerously once more, Jason's instincts kicked in. He realized the fragile bubble they had formed needed defense, needed protecting. He felt that pull again, that need to stand up and fight for what they had built together. But he also worried. What if one voice could still shatter it? "Let me handle this," Jason whispered to Mark, stepping forward. Would he find the words to defend the growing community they had forged? Would the acceptance they had fought so hard for be crushed by cynicism once again? With adrenaline pumping, he took a deep breath and prepared to confront the sneerer. Jason steadied himself at the edge of the crowd, heart pounding in his chest. The room was an orchestra of emotions, a blend of hope and anxiety, and every gaze seemed to be locked on him. He could feel the weight of their expectations pressing down on him, an unspoken plea for him to be their voice. "Hey!" he called out, his voice threading through the murmur. "We're all here sharing stories, right? That's what this place is, an open space for everyone to feel welcome." Lily's eyes widened, a flicker of hope like a candle reigniting. Mark stepped closer, firming up beside him. The sneerer, unfazed, laughed mockingly. "Open for who? Look at this brownies and feelings. What's next, team hugs?" Some members of the audience flinched. Others matched glances, murmurs buzzing like angry bees. "But that's the point," Jason continued, the heat rising in his throat. "We're not afraid to be real here. We're not perfect. We're all just trying to find a bit of connection, even if it's over brownies." Tommy, his face flushed from the attention, piped up. "Yeah. At least we're doing something. Can you say the same?" Jason could feel the momentum shifting. With every word exchanged, the tension in the room started to thaw. The atmosphere, once heavy, now felt electrified with courage, a defiance to the belittlement they faced. "You think it's desperate to share? You think it's weak?" Jason took a bold step forward. "Courage is walking into a room full of strangers and saying you want to be part of something. It's sharing your story, your truth, whether it's happy, sad, or messy. That takes guts." The sneerer's smirk faltered, perhaps for the first time realizing he was short on allies. A flicker of doubt crossed his features, and Jason seized the moment. "Just think for a minute, what do we all need? We need each other. None of us are here to judge. We're here to lift each other up. So if you have something to say, say it, but know that, for every unkind word, there's a room full of people willing to counter it with kindness." The room resonated with murmurs of agreement, hesitant at first, but quickly soaring into a chorus of support. "Yeah. Exactly. Tell him." The voices blended in an unexpected harmony, a community held together through shared experience. Jason felt the release of pent-up tension melt away. Mark clapped him on the back, a proud grin stretched across his face. The burden that had loomed over them began to dissipate. With the sneer now visibly uncomfortable, Jason saw him step back, fading into the obscurity of the shadows where negativity thrived. "Lily, those brownies look amazing," Tommy shouted, breaking into a bright smile. As Lily began to pass them out, her laughter blossomed among the group, and joy punctured through the last remnants of tension. People took bites, and expressions turned to sheer delight. The room quickly filled with chatter, laughter, and the unmistakable warmth of connection. "I'm so glad I came," Lily said, glancing at Mark as she raised her brownie in a small toast. "A win for all of us," Mark replied, his grin contagious. The night drove on, stories flowing freely, new friendships being forged, each moment building on the last. But just as hope thrummed in the air, the door creaked open again, this time a figure silhouetted in the doorway, someone Jason recognized. Who was it, and what would they think of the fragile community they had created? The moment hung delicately in the air, heavier than before, as the room fell silent once more. Jason's heart raced again, but for a different reason now. The atmosphere he had helped create was suddenly rife with uncertainty. All eyes shifted to the doorway, the previously jovial chatter replaced with a hushed anticipation. The figure stepped into the dim light, revealing a woman. Her brown hair hung loosely around her shoulders, and her eyes sparkled with a sense of familiarity that sent a jolt through Jason. It was Claire, his childhood friend, the one who had moved away years ago. The last thing he expected was to see her here, in this space, at this moment. "Claire!" he exclaimed, part disbelief, part joy. Surprise lit up her face as she scanned the room, taking in the new connections being made. "I heard about this place from my cousin. I didn't expect to see anyone I knew." Her voice was warm, wrapped in nostalgia. A murmur raced through the crowd, intrigue painted across faces. Who was she, and what was her story? The warmth of the evening flickered again, but Jason felt a reassuring pulse. This was an invitation, not just for him but for everyone to share their lives, even if they didn't know each other well. Jason stepped closer to her, his curiosity piqued. "I'm glad you came. We were just talking and sharing stories. It feels good to connect." Claire nodded, her eyes softening. "I can see that. It feels special. I've been in a pretty lonely place lately." A slight tremor in her voice tugged at Jason's heart. "Hey, that's why we're here," he said, encouraging her. "Do you want to share something? We're all about opening up tonight." She smiled slightly, the hint of vulnerability lingering but tempered by hope. "I guess it's hard to share sometimes. I moved back to town thinking I'd have the same friends in life, but it's just lonely." "I get it," Tommy interjected, drawing laughter from the group. "You think you know people until you don't. It's a tough pill to swallow. But you're here now, and it's never too late to make new connections." Claire chuckled, a genuine sound that mingled with the air of encouragement filling the room. "That's true," she responded, laughter unfolding slowly into a broader grin. A sense of belonging crept back in, bridging gaps she thought insurmountable. Just as the tension eased, the door again rattled on its hinges. Jason's pulse quickened. What if another surprise awaited? Just his luck, another unwelcome challenge? This time, the figure that walked through was an elderly man, hunched over, gazing around as if trying to connect every face to a memory. The air shifted once more, the crowd holding its collective breath. Jason recognized him from old neighborhood stories, the once reclusive Mr. Thompson, who many said had lived in solitude since losing his wife. He rarely ventured out. What had brought him here? "Well, what's he doing here?" Claire whispered, curious. "Maybe he felt that warmth, too," Jason whispered back, his heart swelling for the man who had finally stepped out of the shadows. Mr. Thompson wandered further into the room, hesitating only for a moment before he caught Jason's eye. Their gazes locked, the connection palpable. "Can I share a story?" he asked, his voice ragged yet commanding enough to draw everyone's attention. The crowd shifted, a cocoon of support wrapping around him. Jason's heart thrummed with exhilaration. They had built something strong, a unique community ready to welcome every voice. Could Mr. Thompson's story be the key to unlocking even deeper connections? Would it usher in a new chapter of sharing? Jason held his breath, excitement humming in the room once again. What would Mr. Thompson reveal? What weight did his words carry? In that moment, as silence filled the air, Jason felt the electric pulse of truth gathering, preparing to burst forth into something transformative. What awaited them all? Mr. Thompson took a careful step forward, the flickering light reflecting off the deep creases of his face. The room fell into a profound silence, the kind that wraps around you like a blanket in winter. The elderly man's eyes appeared to twinkle with memories, dreams of yesterday surfacing even in the twilight of his years. "I've been holding on to stories for a long time," he began, his voice a gravelly whisper that carried warmth. "Stories of love lost, of a life once filled with laughter and companionship. I thought they were mine to keep alone, but perhaps it's time to let them breathe." His gaze shifted to Claire and Jason, acknowledging the spark of camaraderie igniting in their eyes. Jason could feel the weight of Mr. Thompson's words pressing into his chest, heart ready to burst with anticipation. The vulnerability, the honesty of sharing was palpable. "I lost my wife, Hilda, many years ago," Mr. Thompson continued, his voice gaining strength. "She was my world. And when she passed, I thought that silence was all I would have left. I let it consume me. His fingers trembled as they gripped the edge of the table, the gathering crowd sinking into his reality. I stopped leaving my home. Days turned into months, months into years. But he paused, a hint of a smile creeping onto his lips. But one day, I noticed the flowers outside my window. They shouted life back at me. I remembered her laughter, the way she would dance around this very room. It wasn't just sadness anymore. It was a celebration of what we had. Laughter erupted from the audience, but it was laced with a certain bittersweet resonance. Jason felt tears prick the corners of his eyes, moved by a story that unfurled so naturally. Each word painted a vivid image of love, connection, and the cruel march of time. After all those years, I decided to come back. I wanted to feel again. Feel the warmth of a community. I wasn't prepared for what a glowing flower gathering could be, Mr. Thompson said, looking around the room, gauging the shifts in mood. The atmosphere wasn't just supportive, it was electric. People were leaning in, absorbing the essence of his journey, realizing they were part of something greater than themselves. Claire reached out, giving Jason's hand a squeeze. Both of them understood the weight of Mr. Thompson's message, connecting it to their own tales of isolation and rediscovery. Just as Mr. Thompson looked like he might say more, Claire interjected softly, "What was it like to step back into the world?" He met her gaze, the two fates tethered momentarily. Terrifying, yet liberating. I learned that sharing pain often lessens it, and bringing joy multiplies it. You all are living proof of that. Unexpectedly, a rattle of hope unpacked itself in Jason's chest. The air thickened with suspense as Mr. Thompson's eyes sparkled, revealing a brief glimmer of hope, of possibilities unfurling. I laughed again the other day. His eyes glowed, warmth radiated from him. I walked to the park and joined a group of folks playing cards. Those were some of the best hours I've had in years. As the crowd erupted into applause, the momentum swelled, hearts racing with the spirit of shared endeavor. Jason was ready to echo that same daring step forward. The fear of vulnerability was beginning to dissolve in the yearning for connection. But just then, a shadow flickered outside the doorway. The crowd turned, breath holding for another surprise. Would there be more than just Mr. Thompson's story tonight? A new visitor, a potential catalyst for yet another wave of connection? A whisper of anticipation filled the air, the sense that something monumental was about to unfold. What could it mean for this community, for Jason, for Claire? Everyone leaned in, ready to embark on this unexpected ride. As the thick silence settled, a figure stepped into the doorway. A young woman, her dark curls bouncing against her shoulders, stood hesitantly at the edge of the light. The room felt her uncertainty like a palpable thing, a common thread tugging at everyone's heart. "Hi," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "I'm sorry for interrupting." Her eyes scanned the crowd, landing first on Mr. Thompson, then glancing at Claire and Jason. Each second felt like a heartbeat, a moment hanging in suspense. I wasn't expecting to walk in on such an emotional gathering," she continued, her cheeks flushing as she shifted her weight from one foot to the other. "My name is Mia. I was just in the area. And I saw the lights." A murmur rolled through the crowd. Jason shared a glance with Claire. There was something in Mia's tone that drew them in, igniting curiosity. How would she fit into what was already unfolding? Mr. Thompson waved her closer. "You're in the right place, dear. Would you like to join us?" His eyes sparkled with kindness, the welcome beacon growing stronger. Mia hesitantly stepped forward, the shadow of doubt lifting with each step. "I actually heard about this group from a friend," she admitted, her voice firmer now. "He told me you all share stories and support each other." "That's exactly it," Claire encouraged her, the warmth of the room wrapping around Mia like a hug. "It's about connection. It's a way to remind us we're not alone." Noticing Mia's trembling hands, Jason felt himself lean in. "You can tell us anything. We all have layers we've hidden away, right?" Mia took a deep breath, her gaze finally settling on the group. "I hope this doesn't sound silly, but I've felt really alone lately. My dad is, well, he has been sick for a while, and I've been trying my best to keep everything together. Her voice broke the slightest bit, revealing the weight she was carrying. The silence stretched again, but this time it came with a storm of empathy. Jason could see it in the eyes of the crowd, everyone reaching out mentally, aching to show her she wasn't alone in her struggles. "That's not silly at all," Mr. Thompson said gently. "Your experience matters. Just like mine or anyone else. Sometimes it's the hardest times that can bring us to the best moments." Mia's lips quirked up ever so slightly. "Thank you? I guess I wish I could find someone to share that with. To just, talk about it." Claire leaned forward, her voice soft and inviting. "It's okay to feel that way. Connection is what we all need. And you're taking a brave step by sharing this with us." Just as the atmosphere began to warm up again, a new figure appeared at the entrance. This time, it was an older gentleman with a twinkle in his eye and a broad grin stretching across his face. I heard the laughter. "Is this where the magic happens?" The crowd chuckled, the palpable tension from the earlier moments bursting like a balloon into cheer. Jason felt the energy shift, a wave of hope flooding through him, knitted together by the threads of shared stories. Mia glanced back, her cheeks brightening at the mingling energies of laughter and connection, the heaviness in her heart softening. As the new man approached, Mr. Thompson leaned closer to Claire and Jason, his eyes full of mischief. "You'll love him. He's got a story that will knock your socks off." Jason's pulse quickened. What fresh revelation awaited them? What new connections would emerge, and how might they reshape what they all held in their hearts? The night was far from over, but each story, every shared moment, was already carrying the promise of healing and belonging. The real question lingered in the air: who would step forward next, and what would they reveal? Would they bring joy or pain? Either way, it was clear there was magic waiting just beyond that door. The older gentleman cleared his throat, and everyone turned their attention to him. With an inviting smile and a bit of charm, he introduced himself. "Name's Harold. Didn't he mean to crash your little gathering, but I've been known to find myself in magical places just like this," he said with a wink. Claire returned his smile, her curiosity piqued. "What brings you here, Harold?" He adjusted his glasses and took a step closer. "Oh, I've been roaming around town, looking for connection as well. Lately it seems like everywhere I go, I'm looking for an honest chat. Life's too short to wander it alone, wouldn't you agree?" Jason could see the weight lift just a little more off Mia's shoulders as she watched. The room felt lighter, more inviting. Without missing a beat, Harold continued, "Gathering stories from folks like you is like collecting seeds. Each one sprouts something new. I'm hoping tonight, I might plant a few of my own." Mia's eyes sparkled with intrigue. "What kind of stories do you have?" Harold chuckled, his laughter rich and full. Well, I've got a tale or two that might knock your socks off. Ever met someone who thought they had all the answers, only to find they've got it all wrong?" A chorus of laughs erupted through the group, and even Mia felt herself smiling wider. Settling himself into the circle, Harold lowered his voice but retained that twinkle in his eye. "Just last week, I had a wild experience. Helped a single dad plan an unexpected date for his daughter. Turns out, he thought he was going to impress her with a fancy restaurant. But the real magic? It happened when they ended up in a park, sharing ice cream and stories under the stars." Everyone leaned in, breaths held in anticipation. "He started telling her all the wild adventures he had as a kid," Harold continued. "How he would climb trees taller than skyscrapers and pretend to be superheroes, and she listened with wide eyes. It wasn't about the place they were. It was about being present in that moment, sharing laughter and dreams." A silence settled as each person absorbed that simple truth. "Sometimes," Harold went on, "the world overwhelms us with expectations. We forget to just connect, to just be. Nothing's more precious than that." Mia shifted, her heart racing at how much those words resonated. "It's so easy to get lost in everything else, isn't it? I want moments like that with my dad. I want him to feel alive again." Jason reached out, tapping her shoulder gently, reassuring her that she wasn't alone. "We can create those memories," Mr. Thompson chimed in. They don't have to be big gestures. It can be a shared joke or a quiet walk. Sometimes the most ordinary moments are the most magical. As the conversation continued, the room buzzed with excitement. Each story sparked laughter and thoughtfulness, decreasing the distance between every soul present. Suddenly, a slight commotion broke through the warmth. The door swung open again, and this time, a woman in a bright scarf rushed inside. "I saw the lights!" she exclaimed, catching her breath. "Looks like we're starting a trend," Jason said, laughing as the crowd welcomed her, still basking in the reverberations of Harold's story. Mia looked around, embarrassment replaced with a sense of belonging, and felt the familiar pull of connection swelling inside her. Maybe, just maybe, she could brave those moments with her dad too. But just as the laughter resumed, Harold leaned back, his eyes serious, hinting at deeper things yet to come. "But you see, each of us carries burdens, some heavier than others. We're not just gathering stories, we're lifting each other up." With those words still hanging in the air, Claire felt the familiar weight of her own unshared secrets pressing against her ribs. She wanted to speak up, to share the truth that had been brewing inside her, but could she find the courage to unravel her own tangled tale? In the thick of emotional tension, what story had yet to surface from the shadows? What would she reveal, and how would it change the fabric of their gathering? The warmth that wrapped around Jason and everyone present was palpable. They were all here for one reason now: to lift each other up. As laughter and stories flowed, Jason felt the tension of the past nights fall away, like autumn leaves swept by a gentle breeze. The magical atmosphere held everyone together, and a quiet determination grew in him. He glanced at Mark, who laughed heartily with Tommy, their bond tightening with each shared moment. It was a sight that made Jason's heart swell with pride. Mark's transformation was visible in how he spoke, slowly shedding the heavy burdens of self-doubt that had previously chained him. "Hey, can I share something too?" Claire's voice interrupted the flow of stories. Everyone turned toward her, eyes bright with curiosity. She took a deep breath, fighting off the apprehension prickling at her skin. "I know we've all discussed struggles. It's only right I share mine." The room hushed, anticipation crackling in the air. With a steady voice, she continued, "I relocated back here after a rough time. I thought life would be what it used to be: friends, laughter, warmth. But loneliness sank in deep. It's like I was a ghost in my own life." Jason felt her pain resonate within him. He exchanged glances with Mark, both of them sharing an understanding that came from overcoming isolation. "It's hard to say you need help. It feels weakness to admit you're lonely. But this place reminds me of the beauty and vulnerability. It's here that I've finally realized I'm not defined by my struggles. I'm defined by the connections I choose to nurture." Tommy's little hand shot up. "Can I help? We can all be friends." His cheerful innocence broke the tension like an unexpected spark. Laughter erupted. Even Claire chuckled, bringing the spirit of love blossoming back into view. As Claire smiled at Tommy, there was another shift in the room, a sense of understanding blossoming among faces. Everyone had come seeking connection, just as each had brought their unique stories. No one had to walk alone anymore. Mr. Thompson interjected, "See? This is the magic of gathering. It's about weaving our stories together into something bigger." Just then, Mia spoke up, sharing her fear that her father's illness would define their relationship. "I want him to share laughter, not just burden. But how do I bring that back?" "Try sharing a funny memory," Harold suggested. "Moments are like seeds, they just need the right soil." In that moment, a new understanding settled in. Mia smiled through the tears gathering in her eyes, realizing she could bring back joy. The weight of her circumstances seemed lighter. A soft tapping brought everyone's attention back to the door. A young boy, perhaps Tommy's age, peeked in. "Is this where the storytelling is?" His timid voice contrasted sharply with the buzz of laughter. "Yes. Come on in," Jason called out, waving him over. As the boy took hesitant steps forward, Jason could see him gather courage with each stride. "What's your name?" "Eli," the boy said, eyes shining with tentative hope. "Well, Eli, you're welcome here. We're all friends," Tommy shouted, and the room echoed with encouragement. As Eli joined the circle, a sense of completion washed over Jason. New connections blossomed in real time. Witnessing the bravery of each person finding their voice, he knew they had formed a vibrant tapestry rich with diverse shades of experience. Suddenly, there was a chorus of voices cheering Eli on, igniting the spirit of camaraderie to a new level. Laughter filled the room, masking the darkness that once loomed over them. Looking at everyone who had gathered, friends made, stories shared, Jason knew this was just the beginning. They weren't just lifting each other, they were transforming one another's lives. In that moment, as joy rippled through the crowd, he felt a new resolve. Thanksgiving began with a spirit of gratitude, but it blossomed into a deeper understanding of community. Nothing was off the table, and everyone was invited. Jason smiled, eyes filled with glimmers of hope. He looked at Mark, who nodded. Understanding reflected in their gaze. Their journey had transformed into a shared chapter of healing, laughter, and warm connection. "Let us keep this going, yeah?" Jason suggested. They raised their glasses. "For connection and community." "Together." They echoed, the celebratory cheer ringing through the venue. Not a single person felt alone anymore. As they raised their cups, laughter echoed around them, intertwining stories filling hearts. They would keep lifting each other, igniting change within the walls of their hearts and lives. This, indeed, was transformative, a call to community, and a reminder that connection was the greatest gift of all. Now is your time to show your support. Subscribe immediately to our channel to not miss the next exclusive stories full of hope. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and help bring more light into the world. Comment below and share your feelings about this ending. We want to hear from you. And don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. You need to support the channel now.